Great, guys. Okay, so this week we'll be finishing with our Kashrut. We'll be putting that on hold. There's so much more to learn. Once we finish this, we'll be talking about, eating food when you're out and about, on vacation, how to navigate that, different Kashrut things. You may actually go through the concept of Kashrut agencies, how they operate, and why you may have agencies that are more reliable than others, how that works, Israel versus America. We may go through that as well. After that, we'll probably go through the laws of meat and dairy, which is also really important and very fundamental for any kosher kitchen. Okay,
You're teasing me with the hechshers.
What?
I need to know more about these hechshers already now.
You want to know about it more?
Yeah, I want to hear the whole why Rabbanut's bad.
Oh, I'll give you a short answer. You want to know why Rabbanut's bad? Rabbanut's not bad. Who said Rabbanut's bad?
People say that you can't eat Rabbanut.
Oh, one second. You can't eat Rabbanut and Rabbanut being bad. Let's just try and understand what's going on. Okay? Basically, the question you need to ask about any hechsher is, what's the goal of the rabbi running the hechsher? Okay? Now, it could very well be, I'm not saying this is the case, but this is likely the case, that an organization as large as the Rabbanut of Israel, they have a very large responsibility. Now, if I would be in that position of being in charge of that, what would be my goal? I have a couple of options, or I could say hey, I want this to be at the highest level of kashrut, super high level, and the downside of that will be that it's going to be very hard to make a lot of kosher food available to many people. So the other goal I could have is, I want kosher food to be available to about anyone in Israel. Even the secular Jews, I want to make sure that 99.9% or 100% of the food they eat is kosher. And you know something? It's kind of hard to find food that's not kosher here, if you think about it. So if you come from that perspective and understanding what the goal of the hechsher is, that may change your view a little bit. Doesn't mean it's a bad hechsher. It means they're doing an excellent job. The question is, what is their goal? If their goal is to make kosher food available to as many as possible people around, so that means also that they have to forego certain standards to make that happen. Doesn't mean they're bad. It means that their standard and their policy may be different. Now the question is, do you and I want to rely on that? You understand? So that's a whole different question. That means that they may be very good at what they're doing, but their goal is a different goal. And I think that's a really beautiful thing to understand. It's not like this is a bad hechsher, they never got their act together. That's not what we're saying necessarily. What we're saying is that you may have family around in Israel that is non-observant. You may hope that they would eat kosher. And if you know that them entering into any supermarket here means that whatever they buy is kosher, at least at a basic level kosher, the meat they'll buy is kosher, the milk they buy is kosher, everything is kosher. So that's a wonderful thing. So to be able to achieve that means that you have to have a certain policy and standard in place that will facilitate such a system.
Is
Okay?
it considered kosher though?
That's a really different question. Maybe a lot of leniency.
It was kosher.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying just in kashrut we have many different levels. Just like in halacha, pick any topic. There'll be a very wide spectrum of what's considered lenient and what's considered stringent. We try to find a good balance for all of us, and that's what we try to give over here. But yes, they may have to rely on leniencies that we don't rely on. But those leniencies are perfectly in line with their goal, which is a beautiful goal. The question now is, are you and I going to eat it from that hechsher? That's a different conversation. Okay?
My mother said for dairy it's better than for meat.
Okay. There are different, different opinions about it, but that's a general idea and general perspective that you need to have. Okay? We'll speak about that and discuss it a little bit more when we get there. Okay. Getting back to what we spoke about yesterday. Yesterday we started speaking about kitchen appliances. We spoke about the microwave. And as we speaking out over here, all different halachos of kashrut, how to kasher we spoke about, and how to navigate any kitchen that's non-kosher, or if you mistakenly mess up in a kitchen. So now we're going to go through every single kitchen appliance. We spoke about the stove. Herd.
Yeah.
That's right. What?
Firemacher.
Firemacher. Yes, firemacher. There we go. So we spoke out that it does not need to be kashered, and similarly to the fact that we in our own house don't have very often separate ones for meat and dairy. Some people do. Does your family have a separate one for meat and dairy?
Separate what?
Stove.
No, we do, but just for convenience. Not because like we still cook the dairy on the meat stuff.
Okay. So in any case, so it doesn't really matter. But in case you do start cooking, we mentioned yesterday, in any non-kosher household, then make sure there's no food pieces left on the actual grates, on the the place where you put the fire down, you put the pot down. Make sure it's basically clean. Koshering is not required. Any food that falls down on it, don't eat it, and don't roast any food directly on it.
Like the metal part under the grate. I feel like there's a little bit of like remnants on the metal part under the grate.
You're better to leave it. Better to just get rid of it. It should be basically clean, yeah.
That metal
Yes.
part.
Yeah, for sure. I know exactly what you mean.
Okay.
That should be basically clean.
That should.
You don't have to scrub it clean, but it has to be clean. It has to be basically clean.
Before you put something that's like of opposite.
Yeah.
Food gender.
Yeah. Opposite food gender. Very well said, Monty. Thank you for clarifying. Okay, great. Wonderful. So let's continue. Now, what about a coffee machine? Coffee machines, very simple. I don't know if any of you guys are into coffee.
You have a lot to drink.
Am I the only one? Okay.
No, I drink in the morning.
You drink in the morning. Okay. That's not what we're talking about here. I love coffee, okay? I love coffee. I used to go in Amsterdam, I used to go with my father to this place in the center of town. It was like this tiny little store with this old man, and he had his special coffee beans, like a whole different range, and we would tell him what machine we have, and he would grind it exactly for that machine. We would go home and have our delicious cup of espresso. In any case, if you do have your coffee machine, very simple, coffee machines, if they use regular beans, they're obviously kosher, right? Even if it's a non-kosher house or whatever it is, because coffee beans are coffee beans, and there's nothing, it's just a natural ingredient, right? With water, it's fine.
Even if they're roasted?
Yeah, totally fine. You can buy, pardon?
You could buy coffee.
You can, sure, any coffee we buy is roasted. You go to any, there's an espresso capsule, it's roasted coffee.
Doesn't it have
Does not be Kasher, no.
So interesting, but it's like cooked, no?
Oh, you're asking is Vishalakum. That's what you're asking. It's cooked by a non-Jew.
Yeah.
Great Kasher, gewaltig, Monty. Great, go for it. The answer is that somehow it's considered coffee beans that they can be eaten in a raw state. Don't ask me why. And the halacha is that any food that can be eaten in a raw state, even if a non-Jew cooks it, it can be eaten.
What? No,
Did you know that?
Crazy information.
It says
Yeah.
So like a
soup,
vegetable
fish.
soup, you're chilling?
Fish. Okay, I knew that's such a great question. Is it not, I'm not sure if that's considered meant to be raw eaten, but any other food, I just can't get of any.
Vegetable soup?
What?
Vegetables you can eat raw.
You can eat potatoes raw?
No, but vegetable soup and it doesn't have potatoes in it.
Okay, so we have to get clarification on this. There are many different ingredients that are cooked or that have an OU hechsher on it, on ingredients or processed foods, simply because they rely on this.
Oh, bugs
Okay.
is another thing.
Bugs?
Bugs.
Yeah, bugs.
And
Infestation.
herbs and etc.
Yes, that's a very big problem. In any case, we as Jews, we're very sensitive people, with our infestation and everything else. Great. Well, so in any case, that's very important to keep in mind. Your coffee machine is fine. If you have a coffee machine that has these capsules that go in, so some of those capsules have flavors. Apparently, the Nespresso company do make a lot of flavors, whether it's pumpkin, hazelnut, dark coffee, or whatever it is, caramel, whatever you like, vanilla. These are more the ladies' flavors, the last two. Vanilla one. Just how it is. In any case, if you do have those, all those flavors are kosher. But what happens if the person who used the coffee machine beforehand used a capsule that had a flavoring that's not kosher? Okay.
Espresso specifically, it's all
They're
kosher.
all kosher. I just happen to know that. Okay. But sometimes they may have other companies. I think in America they have Keurig. I noticed that when it was there. If the flavorings are not kosher and you know someone used a non-kosher one, so then you have a problem with your machine. Now, if you don't know which type of person used, so then you do not have to worry about it. You don't have to be concerned about that unlikely scenario that a person may have used a flavored one and the flavored one is not kosher. Okay, so therefore the basic halacha is if you go home and you have your coffee machine, just enjoy it and use it. Okay, unless you really know that someone's been using like capsules with non-kosher flavor.
I feel like you could probably just do like another empty run and that would make it kosher.
Yeah, so you would have to clean it. We have to go through.
Clean it and then
Yeah,
do it.
exactly. Yeah, and wait 24 hours, whatever. You understand what I'm saying? Great. Let's continue with the next bit. Kitchen counters. Okay, what about your kitchen counter? One may use a non-kosher kitchen countertop, provided the surface has been cleaned properly. Okay, what does that mean? Cold food items may be cut directly on it. Okay, generally people do use a cutting board, but if you want, let's say you want to cut an apple or something like that, whatever it is, you can cut that if it's cold on a non-kosher counter. That's fine. Okay? Now, what happens if you want to use it with heat, your counter? So can you put a pot straight on your counter? Well, obviously make sure that the surface allows it. You know, my parents, they have like some sort of wooden type of thing, so you can never put a hot pot down there. But if you have stone, marble, whatever it is, you can put a hot pot directly on it. So then it's important to have some sort of separation. Put a pan rest or even a towel in between, one of those hand towel or dish towel in between the pot and the actual counter to make sure that there is no heat that comes directly in contact with the counter, because that would essentially absorb any of the food particles that are in the counter into your pot and maybe into your food as well. So therefore, counters, very simple. If it's cold, no problem, okay? By the way, I just wanted one limitation regarding cold is cutting sharp foods is a whole different thing. So don't cut an onion straight on a non-kosher counter. That's a problem. Sharp foods have a different status because they're sharp. They have much more of a power to absorb. So don't cut sharp foods on them. But anything else that's cold, let it be a cucumber, a carrot, or apple, or anything else that's cold is totally fine provided it's clean. Okay? Hot use, make sure to have a separation.
What if it's meat?
In between.
Is meat the same?
Yeah, that's fine. As long as it's cold, make sure the counter is totally clean. Yeah, you can do that. What about your sink? Okay, what about your sink? So the sink is going to be non-kosher, but to tell you the truth, even in a kosher household, many sinks are not kosher because many households have only one sink and they use them for meat and dairy at the same time. And when you wash a dairy pot under hot water, that's 43 degrees Celsius. I think we said 109 degrees Fahrenheit. So at that point, your sink will become meaty. If you afterwards wash up your dairy pot in hot water, and you do the same thing, so then your sink is going to absorb dairy particles. And then your sink is going to become meat and dairy all mixed up, called basar b'chalav. If you afterwards put a hot pot in there, then that will absorb from the sink straight basar b'chalav. Problem. Many kitchens that only have one sink, the sink is not kosher anyway, okay? Many houses have only one sink. If you have two sinks, then a lot of people find that convenient, and actually it is very convenient if you have the means to do so and put a practical space to get a hold of two sinks when you design a new kitchen. It's definitely a very good investment and not a waste of money, okay? So two sinks are definitely great to have them. Make sure to position them in a way that they don't have much splitters going from one to the other, because that would also be a problem, but two sinks is ideal. But very often we only have one sink. You probably have two sinks in the house. Three sinks? Three things, a Pesach kitchen, 3 microwaves and 2 ovens. Great.
It's not money-wise, it's just for the hechsher-wise.
That's wonderful. I like that.
Okay, so what should we do for cleaning it in one sink? What do we do?
Washing up. Okay, so that's very important. Now let's just speak a moment for washing up, and this is something that's more going to come up when we're going to speak about meat and dairy. But the main point is, when you use a non-kosher sink or any sink, if you even in a kosher household, if you only have one sink, so make sure that first of all, don't put any dishes in the sink. Now, many people, when they have dishwashers, so when you finish eating, you take your plate and put it in a dishwasher. Okay? If you don't have dishwashers, then you put them straight in the sink. That's a lot of people do. Now, that's not a good idea. Okay? To put any utensils, let's speak a second about the one sink in a non-kosher household before we speak about meat and dairy. If you start putting your utensils, your kosher utensils, in a non-kosher sink and turn on the tap afterwards, or someone else maybe turning on the tap, you're saying like, I'm just putting in the dishes, I'll come back in half an hour and I'll clean my dishes then. Meanwhile, someone else comes in the kitchen, turns on the tap, and it comes out hot water, and it's not very hot. 109 degrees Fahrenheit, 43 degrees Celsius, is not so hot. So when that happens, so then your dishes become not kosher. Okay? So that's a problem. So therefore, don't put your dishes in the sink. Okay?
I've heard some people use a grate to separate it.
A grate to separate what? The floor, the bottom of the sink. The bottom of the sink.
So
Yeah, that can help according to many
So like a
opinions.
dairy grade and a meat grade or something.
Yeah, that is definitely an option. Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, what about the whole dishwasher thing? Like, if you have one dishwasher, you're putting meat and milk.
That's a
Meat.
problem.
So
2 dishwashers. How many dishwashers do you have at home? 2?
Too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never even thought
My
of
parents
that.
have 2 dishwashers, but they'll have one sink with 2 dishwashers.
Is there a thing?
What?
Does the one sink have like a divider? Or?
No, they just do it.
We only have one
They-
dishwasher because you're only really using a lot of dishes when you're using meat. You're using dairy, how many dishes?
what about
It sounds very much like my
Well,
in-laws.
it's a lot if you have
My
a lot of
in-laws have 2
kids.
dishwashers, and they only use the one for meat because dairy, only a few dishes, just wash it by hand.
No, if you have
It's
a
a
lot
waste
of
to
kids,
put on a whole
cereal.
I mean,
run for
my
that.
parents are at the house and they've got their kid breakfast stuff and they
Yeah,
go
cereal and everything.
Yeah.
Cereal.
I
And,
see.
It's the same dishes though.
Yeah, where they just load up the dishwasher when it's full, they turn it on.
Yeah,
So it'd be like,
Yeah, but we need it. It's like,
right.
I
I guess everyone has their system that works for them.
self-clean
no, there is no
dishwasher.
Self-cleaning
I mean,
dishwasher,
I have
exactly
no-
AI
breakfast,
powered, you know.
cereal.
Probably
Yeah.
feels exactly
Yeah.
when it's ready, knows when you're supposed to have your next
Well,
meal, and
that's
like
the
make sure to clean your
like,
dishes.
it'd be full.
Huh?
So if you
and when
load
it'd be
your
full, it's
dishwasher,
maybe
it's
2
not the
days.
same. It's not the same.
If you load your dishwasher,
you load your dishwasher with all meat stuff. Let's say after you have a big meal, you load it with all meat stuff when you run it. But after you do that, you can only then put in meat stuff. Is it not
your dishwasher is fleshig if you do that.
Okay.
It
Even though it's
becomes
hot water
totally
going.
meat. It's meat. It's meat. It's meaty.
No, I'm saying that hot water goes in afterwards, and you, how would you put? You couldn't put milk in ever again.
Oh, you
how would you
kach your
kach? How would you
dishwasher.
kach it?
You kach your dishwasher. We can speak to that in a minute. How you kach your dishwasher? Okay.
There's also just a fridge.
You have 2 fridges.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Separate for
2
dairy-
fridges.
for dairy and meat.
Everything up until 2
The American standard is great.
Two,
I love
no,
it.
2 fridges is crazy.
2
That's
fridges?
unheard of.
What kind of fridge? 2 little fridges. You probably have.
No, we
that
have like
huge-
one
fridge.
regular fridge freezer, and then we have for dairy we have a small
compartment.
special.
We have
dairy
again, we have like a small pull-out drawer for dairy. Then again, just for convenience.
Because you guys are eating meat all day. That's why. It's
no,
not
it's a
getting picture
convenient.
here.
No, it's for convenience. Our fridge has meat and dairy.
Right.
Having 2 separate fridges is crazy. I heard two separate garbages. For,
2 separate garbages, but once it's in a garbage, you're not going to eat it anyway.
I don't know. 2
I
separate
don't
garbage.
do 2 separate. We have one garbage.
I've heard 2 separate garbages.
2 separate, one for regular, one for recycle.
No, because you're not allowed to technically. You're not allowed to
I would not
mix
have space for
bus
any
with
of that in my house. I just have enough space for one garbage can.
It's
Anyway, I hear
technically
that.
not allowed to mix bus with pulse.
Even in the bin?
That's
Yeah, but
interesting.
I don't
No, you're
think
saying
you're having
that
enough.
this
You're not
is,
having enough, man.
you're not having enough. No, but even without hanol, you're not allowed
Prohibition?
prohibition to cook meat and dairy together. Okay?
Oh, so
Yeah, but by the
hot,
time
it's-
by the time you throw it out, I guess
Even if you're not benefiting
It's
from
a chumrah. Like it's. I don't
It's
think
interesting.
it's chumrah.
Wow.
But how is it going to cook in the garbage?
astringency.
So Rav,
Fascinating.
if you have a hot beef burger and you throw it into the dustbin and then you take cheese and you throw the cheese into the dustbin, you're not allowed to do that.
You are allowed to do that or not?
No, you're not allowed to. Or you
The
can't?
question.
it shouldn't be.
So
You're
that's
cooking.
okay.
You're
Well,
cooking
the,
meat in
the,
a
the answer is that we can, once it's not in a pot anymore, I think it's fine. If it's not in a pot anymore, it's fine. The halacha is that if you put a piece of meat that's hot and a piece of cheese that's hot next to
What
each
if-
other on a plate, then that's not called cooking.
What if a homeless person sees and takes it out and enjoys it?
That's a different concern. Okay, I hear that.
Just,
If
it
that
doesn't have to be a homeless person. Somebody. Anybody.
anyone does that, right? Yeah, we all do that.
Oh, there's such
Not
a
to
big
like put down homeless people. I'm just saying. in general.
There's
I hear
such a
the same
thing as
part.
dumpster diving. You can get some good stuff.
Yeah. what am I doing?
There we go, dude. Thank you. Exactly. Okay, in any case, so let's get some clarification about that sink. So the sink is, if it's not kosher, make sure not to put any dirty dishes in there, okay? Because turning it on can be problematic for the dishes, okay? So make sure to have them elsewhere. When you do wash up, okay, make sure to have your own sponge, 1 sponge for dairy, 1 sponge for meaty, okay? And when you wash them up, obviously you can wash up with hot water, that's not a problem. Just make sure to hold the dishes. Don't put them in the sink, okay? Don't put them in the sink. That's the main thing. That's how you wash up. Now, that's important. If you have no other sponge, okay, and the only sponge you have is a non-kosher one, then in times of need, you can use the non-kosher sponge if it's cleaned as much as you can with cold. You can do that. Okay?
And the top of the tablecloth.
What do you mean?
If there's separate tablecloths.
For vegan dairy, you mean? Yes,
The
absolutely.
reason you can't put them in the sink is that's because it's metal and it absorbs the product, whereas so you can keep the dishes on the countertop.
On a
It's-
countertop, yeah.
It's
you-
clean and it's okay.
Yes, just don't put them in a sink, because if they're in a sink and someone's going to turn on tap,
Yeah.
or even if it's not, anything absorbs, even earthenware, china, everything, your mug, everything will absorb it.
I was saying, well, what's the difference between putting your silverware in the dish in the sink versus in the counter? They're both.
Because in a counter, you're not going to have hot water that is going to be flowing over your dishes and the counter. The problem with it is that if you have hot water flowing or connecting the dishes, so to say, and the sink, what happens then is that the hot water makes any absorbed non-kosher food particles expel from the sink, and it goes straight into your dishes,
I see.
rendering your dishes not kosher. So that's the reason why. But on a counter, generally, you don't have that quantity of hot water going if things are working normally.
A table, right? Are you allowed to, like, let's say you're eating a dinner, put it in a plate. The plate gets like really hot. Are you allowed to put that on like a table that might not be kosher?
You can put it on a table. It doesn't get to those heats, that type of heat. Generally, we do prefer to put a tablecloth down. Yeah.
But
Or
I'm
placemat.
saying if you don't,
Does it become not kosher?
yeah.
Was
No.
the table non-kosher?
No, the food. If the table was not kosher, is my point.
If you're asking if the food is not kosher,
No.
if the table is not kosher and
table's
it's
not
absorbing potential, that is a good point.
It has to be really high.
Yeah, it would have to be really hot.
109 degrees is
Well,
not a big deal.
soup or
A plastic plate and you're like stuffed straight from the pot.
Yeah,
That's
that would be a problem. That would be a
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah, I'll put that up.
Yeah.
But a bowl of cereal, you're probably.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure. Okay, guys, let's leave it here for today.